tattletales. I would have gotten away with it if it weren't for you meddling kids. Hey everybody, I've got Scooby-Doo Betrayal at Mystery Mansion on the table here. Let me go over this game with you guys. Obviously this takes place after Betrayal at House on the Hill, but with a Scooby-Doo theme. For setup, you and anybody playing are going to take one of the characters from Scooby-Doo and put your standee on top of the Mystery Machine tile, and you will give every player one of these little player boards, and I'm playing as Scooby-Doo here, and you're going to put one of these black clips next to the green starting number for your speed, your might, your courage, and your brains. And those are your stats throughout the course of the game. And essentially what these represent, your speed is how fast you can move, how many spaces you can move throughout the mansion or the outside grounds. Your might is how strong you are, your courage is how brave you are, obviously, and your brains is your intelligence. And these numbers will come into play when you are performing tasks in which you will roll these dice. And the number that you have is how many dice you get to roll. And so on your turn, you can see here some of the things you can do. You can give, and so once per turn you may give an item, clue, or Scooby Snack to another hero on your tile. You can take, same thing, take something from another character, and you can move throughout the maps, the tiles on the map. And so how that works is if it's my turn and I want to move, I can move up to my speed, so in this case a 4. And what I'm trying to do in this game is I'm trying to explore the Mystery Mansion or the outside grounds. And at the beginning of the game, you will pick one of these cards to be as your mystery for the game. And so, for instance, I might start with the Man-Made Menace here, the case of the Man-Made Menace. And so we, as Mystery Inc., are trying to figure out what's going on here. And so I might move, and I have a choice here. I can move in any direction that there's a doorway or walkway on the tile that I'm on, or if I'm on either one of these two tiles, I can go back and forth. So I can go from the Mystery Machine to the entrance of the mansion or vice versa. And if I go on an outside space, such as right here, the first space that I come to that doesn't have a tile, I have to draw a tile from one of these two stacks, depending on if I'm outside the mansion or inside the mansion. And so if I'm outside, I would draw one of these tiles, and I would place it on the space that I'm at, matching up any doorways or walkways. And I can do that in any way that I see fit. So I could do it that way, or I could turn it around and do it that way. I just have to match up the way that I came from. And so if I did it like that, I would then put my character on top of it, and I would read anything that's on this tile. So I'm going to turn it this way so you guys can see it. And this one says, heroes who discover this tile immediately lose 1 speed. And in that case, I would drop my speed by 1 number, and they're not always in order, as you can see, 6 to 8 here. So in this case, I would drop from a 4 to a 3. Now, if you're familiar with Betrayal at House on the Hill, if you ever drop to one of these skulls, after the haunt has started, then you die. That doesn't happen in Scooby-Doo Betrayal at Mystery Mansion. You just simply are stunned, and you have to use your whole next turn to revive yourself. And you revive your stat all the way back to the green starting number here. And that can happen even before the haunt. If you're not familiar with what a haunt is, I'll explain that here in a minute. On the tiles, there are these little icons here in the bottom right above the name of the tile, and that tells you the type of card that you draw after you reveal this tile. So in this case, this is a clue card. And clue cards are important because when you draw a clue card, you get something special of some sorts, but then you also have to roll to see if the haunt starts. And what the haunt is at the point that the haunt starts, one of the players is going to become the bad guy. They're going to remove their character token off of the board, and thematically that character has been locked in a broom closet or lost in the woods or something of the sorts. They're just out of the game the rest of the game. But that player will then play as the bad guy in the mystery. And they will get to read from their monsters book here that tells them secret rules and ways to play the game from that point forward, and a certain objective that they are trying to accomplish, whereas everyone else will read from the Secrets of Survival book that will tell them how they can win the game. Now, in original Betrayal, you would do that separately, and there would be secrets that would be between the two different parties. You can still do that in Scooby-Doo, but the rules also state that you can reveal everything openly to each other and just play the game in a friendly way that's still competitive. But that way there's no confusion amongst anybody, because original Betrayal was infamous for that the rules would be ambiguous and there could be a lot of things that would be misconstrued. This clears a lot of that up. Now, a lot of the other tiles will show you other symbols, such as that particular one right there. And in that case, you would draw an event card, and the events will give you some sort of task to perform in which you are using your stats to roll dice, and hopefully you pass those events, gain something, otherwise bad things could happen to you. And there are going to also be other tiles that let you draw item cards, and the items will obviously give you items that you can use throughout the course of the game. Play will continue like this until either the bad guy accomplishes whatever it is that they are trying to accomplish throughout the course of their haunt, or the good guys defeat the bad guy and keep him from being able to accomplish whatever he or her is trying to do throughout the course of the haunt. And it's much like a Scooby-Doo episode in which you get clues to reveal what's truly going on and unmask the caper and foil their plans like the meddling kids you are. There is another component in this game, and that's these Scooby Snacks here. This is not in the original Betrayal, but what Scooby Snacks allow you to do is you can spend them to re-roll dice, which is very nice because these dice have 1, 2, and blank sides on them. And so it's very likely that you could roll and get blanks, and that's not good. And so the Scooby Snacks allow you to re-roll those dice and hopefully get better results. And that's pretty much the game. The game ends in which either the bad guy defeats everyone else or the good guys are able to foil the plans of the bad guy. And if you are able to do that, then you win Scooby-Doo Betrayal at Mystery Mansion. Okay, so here's Sam and I and our oldest doing a 3-player playthrough of Scooby-Doo Betrayal at Mystery Mansion. And if you'd like to check that playthrough video, click the eye in the top right corner and it'll take you to that video. Right now we're going to share our thoughts on this game. I'll go first and tell you guys, I really was excited for this game when I found out that it was coming out. Mostly because my children are at the age now where they can play a lot of games with us, and Betrayal at House on the Hill is one of my favorite kind of classic board games, if you will, older modern board games.
It's one of our first ones,
yes, too. Yeah, and unfortunately the original Betrayal is just too adult to play with kids.
It's a little too scary.
Yeah, the horror in that is very graphic at times. Scary is definitely the word for it, and just not something that I would play with my kids. So when I heard about this, I was very excited for it. And Scooby-Doo is kind of one of those themes that is intergenerational.
Yeah.
You know, old people, medium-aged people, young people, they all like Scooby-Doo. And so something that really connects there with it. And guys, I just don't like this game, unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just not Betrayal at House on the Hill. It's a very watered down version of it. And unfortunately, the word that I'm left with is that this is just a very dull experience. We played it numerous times, and I thought that, you know, in the playthrough video, we played the easiest mystery, and it just was really dull. And I thought that if we played it on a harder difficulty, a more a mystery that was meant for older players and more experienced players, that it would be a better experience. And unfortunately, it just wasn't. It wasn't.
Yeah.
What do you think, Sam?
I mean, I agree with Lance. And for me to say a game is too simple, I think says a lot. I like simple games, but it was just watered down. It was dull. Especially the part where every time the only bonus you would get was Scooby Snacks. There's nothing else.
Right.
Nothing else you could get that was going to help you out, and you didn't even really use those that often.
Right, yeah. So what she's talking about there, in original Betrayal, there were several things that could happen as you would explore the mansion. Most of them were not great, positive things, but there were some that were. The items were interesting. They always came with you could really pull something great off, but it always came at a price. And in this Scooby-Doo version, the items are just really generic. It's Scooby Snacks, and the Scooby Snacks let you re-roll dice, and that's pretty much it. It feels like.
I will say our son enjoyed it. He knows who Scooby-Doo is, and he liked it, and it was easy for him to play with us. So I'll give it, some points for family friendliness, but it's for the same people that are going to play Life and Monopoly.
Well, yeah, I think this is very much geared for young children. The box says ages 8 and up, and I think you probably would play this with 8, 9, 10, 11-year-olds. I don't know that you'd go much higher than that, quite honestly, just because it is so straightforward. The haunts that we've played so far, and I'll tell you, we haven't played all of them, but the ones we have played, it really comes down to whoever rolls the highest, it feels like. And that's just not satisfying enough for me with all the other board games that are out there in the world. I mean, any other thoughts that you have on it, Sam?
No, not really. I think we're both on the same page with this one.
Yeah. So let's get into our ratings on it. I will go ahead and give this a 5 for me, and the redeeming qualities, it is something that at least gives something to play with younger children, with that horror type spooky feel to it. It is in the same vein as Betrayal, exploring a house, flipping over tiles, and there's a haunt, a traitor, and all of that. It's just really kind of dull, honestly. What rating do you give it, Sam?
I'd give it a 4.5. I mean, honestly, it wasn't that exciting. I was forced to play a board game, and I did not have fun playing it, so I'm giving it a 4.5.
Wow. Forced. Harsh words. Would this be one that you would recommend playing with non-gamers?
I mean, I've thought about this question because obviously you're going to ask it to me, but I mean, yes, if you're playing with children, if you're looking for something that's for a family, sure, maybe, but in general, I'm just not going to suggest anyone play this game.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. I think, like I said, this would be one to play with your young children. If you have a crowd, though, that aren't put off by the theme of the original Betrayal at House on the Hill, then I would definitely recommend going with that. The haunts are much more interesting. That's not a perfect game without its own flaws, but it's definitely a game that will provide a much more enjoyable, memorable experience than this game will. The haunts are much more interesting. The gameplay is much more interesting. It's just a better game all around than this version of that game. Okay, guys, well, there you have it. You have our thoughts on it. If you feel like this might be a game that you would enjoy, check out the link in the description of the video, and it'll take you to Amazon, where you can purchase it and try it out for yourself. If you like this video, please consider liking and subscribing. We are putting out content every week. For Sam, this is Lance. We are Love to Hate, and we'll catch you next time.